Hello everybody, I'm back again. This is the second part of the video I was doing about Google firing the diversity author. Look, as I was saying before, I got cut off from the other video about it was about the transsexual who were black transsexuals who were pissed at GoogleManifesto, the god or something he calls himself, on the breakfast show. Is it breakfast show, breakfast club radio show that they do the video? They had another presenter, the singer on there. They posed a question to him, to this singer, and he didn't. He just responded and said, "Look, if he went out with a transsexual who didn't clearly state during, not even during it, before. So, if he goes into a club and he sees what he thinks is a woman, but it's actually a man dressed up, but in such a way, it's difficult to, especially in a club situation. If the guy says, "Look, listen, mate, I'm a transsexual. Are you okay with that?" More than likely, the other guy will shoot and say no and walk away. Some people might be happy about it, and would quite happily talk with him, or even and so on and so on. But the point is, I think the point that was being made is that if they didn't say anything to him, and they allowed it to go as far as getting into bed, and he finds that person was a transsexual, he would not be happy. Yes, he did say he would kill them. I think a lot of people, everybody says that, I would kill that person if they did that. I don't think he would literally do that, but he would be angry. The guy calls himself whatever god his name is. The presenter said, "No, you can't say that. You can't be saying that you'll be killing people. That's wrong." And he clearly said that. What more do they want him to do? Say, right, get out of the room. We can't have you hearing. This is the problem with these, with what's going on in this society today. You're shut down at every point when you try and have a discussion. There is no discussion today. We are living in fascist times. In today, and the fascist times that we live in is on the left. The word fascism doesn't just mean those people on the far, far right. It can now be used for those people on the far, far left, because they are trying to stop free speech in this country. And not only do they are trying to stop free speech, they want people to be put in prison and to be jailed. So anyway, they go to the I think was it Polycom, where this guy was from the Breakfast Club there, and he was answering questions. I'm not sure, I didn't see the full video, but I think they allowed them to finish the show, and then the questions and answers. These guys that suddenly stood up and started screaming and shouting and saying, "Your behaviour on the Breakfast Show was disgusting. On the Breakfast Club was disgusting. You didn't defend enough. We're sick and tired of people saying that it will kill us and do kill us that and all this kind of business." The point is, I think they also stated that this would incite people to want to kill transsexuals and all this nonsense. It's not going to incite people to do that. But transsexuals had better be careful, because what you're doing is you are born a man. Your chromosomes are those of a male. You are not a full woman. Just because you're taking hormonal injections, again, does not make you a full woman, especially if you've got your the cherries and twigs, your Christmas, your fishing tackle still intact. I'm sorry, you're still a man, whether you like it or not. You can't, God made you a man, and even if you get your bits cut off, you will still be a man. Only God can change you to a woman. Only God, and He's never done that to this day yet. So But this is, again, see, this is the thing. This is all part of the diversity nonsense that not just Google, but a lot of companies are going through. You somehow can't seem to, there is no discussion to be had. You have this guy sent out a memo of his view. Okay, why couldn't somebody else send out a memo? He might, invite them and say, okay, you give your point of view or what do you think, and then let people have a discussion about it. But instead, Google decided to fire this guy on the spot. Okay, fine, they're entitled to do that. It's their company, their business. They can do what they want. But the thing is, what Google's got to be very careful about is that there are a lot of intelligent people out there, and there's going to be a lot of guys who are going to think, hold on a minute. If someone is going to put out an email that wasn't insultive, it gave explanation, and from what I haven't read it. I'm going to be honest with you, but I just get tired of. I don't need to read it because it just seems to me there is this knee-jerk reaction by people all the time, especially from the left leaning of people, and I'm just getting tired. Can we? Let's see this. Maybe we can see the memo. Let's actually go to the memo because we didn't do that in the first video. Anti-diversity, right? Let's read through this. Look at this nutcase. This woman here. This former Reddit boss was among a number of women from the tech industry to criticize the memo. Fuck off, you witch. Oh, God. Here we go. So, a Google employee's opinion criticizing the firm's diversity initiatives is causing a furore at the firm. And this is an internal memo. I've already read through this, but I think it's good to start again. An internal memo, a male software engineer argued the lack of women in top tech jobs was due to biological differences between men and women. We need to stop assuming that gender gaps imply sexism, he wrote in the piece, which was widely criticised. Why is it widely criticised? He says we need to stop assuming that gender gaps imply sexism. It's like the gender pay gap. Everybody says that it's sexism. But those people who know how the gender pay gap is calculated realize that it's feminazi propaganda. That is what the gender feminist game. And the day somebody can really debunk and really destroy the feminazis on TV or on a debate show and show all the figures, then maybe it will start to be dealt with. But the feminist movement, look at the arse wipe Obama, when he deliberately, and he knows how it's calculated, yet he deliberately used that to say that he doesn't want his daughters being paid 77 cents to the dollars. What are you fucking talking about? Your daughters are going to be millionaires for the fact that they themselves made history with their father becoming the first black president of the United States. So they'll never, ever be poor. Never, ever will they be poor. So it's a load of shit. They're going to earn 100 times more than anybody else. Both black and white. So it's nonsense. Obama was lying. 77 cents to the dollar. American women make 77 cents to the dollar. Yet in the UK, women make 88 pence to the pound. The 77 cents to the dollar are white women. Asian women, on the other hand, make 89 cents to the dollar. Black women, I think was it 59 or something like And I saw a recent thing about there was a campaign that I saw a black woman saying that black women are paid 59 cents to the dollar, or something like that. I think it was like 59 cents to the dollar. They weren't concerned about the black men. They were only concerned about black women. Does anybody know what the average um, um, pay of the black man is? No. Do you know why? Because no one gives a fucking shit. They're only interested in the most important, privileged people on this planet, white women. Then, to a certain smaller degree, black women. And then all the other women then fall into place. Even though Asian women, again, are much, much more highly educated than black women. But nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about it. And Asian women are more highly educated than white women. But getting back to this, I digress. But the author said he had received many personal messages from fellow Googlers expressing their gratitude. So there you go. He got emails saying, obviously, probably from a lot of men in the company who are sick and tired of the nonsense and the falseness of a company like Google that's been forced to make its company half and half. I mean, look at YouTube, for instance. It's run by a feminist silly bitch who's now trying to destroy this fantastic company with her, ideology. Let's go. Posted on an internal discussion board. The article was published in full by tech website Gizmodo. It argues that the abilities of men and women differ in part due to biological causes, and that these differences may explain why we don't see equal representation of women in tech and leadership. The unnamed author says women generally prefer jobs in social or artistic areas, while more men may like coding. The article prompted a response from the search engine giant's new head of diversity, a woman, Danielle Brown, who said the heated discussion over the issue had compelled her to say a few words. Here we go. In an internal email published by tech website Motherboard, she said the article was not a viewpoint that I or this company endorses, promotes, or encourages. Nobody's saying that it's the company's. He was talking about the company's diversity. He didn't agree with it. Zoe, whatever bloody name is, tells today preschool initiatives are needed to solve gender gap in tech industry. Why? Why is this? Why are women, especially white women, so obsessed with this, tech gap? Nobody complains about the fact that 90% or 95% of nurses are women. Nobody complains that psychologists now are in the 80s to 80% are women. Nobody complains that vets, which used to be a male dominated, is now female. Hold on, everybody. I've just been interrupted here. You spoiled my thing.
Have you ordered it?
I've ordered it.
Thank you. I want to know it. Fat mouth.
You know I'm doing it in recording.
I don't know.
Well, it's really annoying. Sorry about that, people. I mean, she always does that. Comes in and interrupts my recording. I'm in the process of finding a new flat, and I'll be opening my own flat. Me and my brother. She'll have to be here on her own. Nonsense. Anyway, let's get back to this. Here we go. Let's have a look. Just put this out of the way. So, yeah, diversity and inclusion are a fundamental part of our values and the culture we continue to cultivate. Fascism, fascist left-wing culture. That's what you're cultivating. You can, unless you follow the left-wing narrative to the T, you will not be part of this company. It's as simple as pure as that. You know, we are unequivocal in our belief. That means they are down the line. They will not change. They will not change from their belief that diversity and inclusion are critical to our success as a company, and we will continue to stand for that and be committed to it for the long haul. Well, let me tell you something like that. If Google is not careful, okay, and it decides to employ bottom feeders in its company, okay, and it decides to get rid of real people who are real innovators in their company, and decide just to say, right, we're going to make our company literally 75% women or 80% women, that will destroy Google. That will destroy Google. It needs to be very, very careful about that. You know, it needs to be very, very careful. You know, this affirmative action shit that is in a lot of companies needs to be removed and stopped. Needs to be removed and stopped. I'm no longer interested anymore when people say, "Oh, the reason why we need affirmative action is because white people have had, better chances and better education and all this kind of shit." Blah blah blah. Black people can achieve these things. I tell you this now. If black people were to go to Africa, I've been to Africa. I'm from Nigeria, and you see the way in which the development of the country, which I haven't been for a few years now, but I hear it's slowly getting better in certain aspects. Better roads, the roads are improving. Okay, but there's still a long way to go. A long way to go. Maybe 50 to 100 years. But the point is that when a black person goes back to Africa and sees the massive, unfortunate poverty that is there, they then realise, especially young black men who've gone to Africa and they come back to America, they then realise actually that they are not that badly off. They do have opportunities to go to university, to go to college. Yes, it costs money. But if you're an intelligent black man, you can make your way in America and become successful. But it needs. Let me give you an example. Look at Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle came of a family of both mother and a father, 2 brothers and sisters. He consistently had connection with his father, which is probably the reason why he did become successful. Because the reason why, his father was an intelligent man. He was a teacher. Yeah, he broke up from his mother, which is always the case, unfortunately, with black women. But he broke up, but he still had connections with his son. They still had connection with his son. And Chappelle had connection with his father. Okay, and that's the reason why I believe he's become successful, because of that. Look at Tiger Woods. Before Tiger Woods' father died, it was because of Tiger Woods' father that he became successful. Look at the Serena Williams. Who was it that pushed them to where they are? Their father. Black people can achieve if black men are brought into the family structure and are not demonized. Black men are demonized in America. Period. And that is due to the way that they're brought up by their mothers in America. I mean, that's another story I want to talk about at another point. But let's get back to this. On social media, women spoke out to criticize the manner and attitudes of sexism in the workplace more generally. I experienced this at Google and was frustrated that they did nothing about rhetoric that was harming employees. What does that mean? What the fuck are you talking about? There are many people at Google who share this guy's views. They do their peers' performance review and interview people. They discriminate. Tough. I'm not interested. I don't give a shit about that. The world is not perfect. Okay. And the thing is, if you put the people that you want to be there, okay, they will do the same to discriminate against people who they feel don't fit into their narrative. It works both ways. It works both ways. In blog on the site Medium, former Google engineer Erica Baker said she was disappointed but unsurprised. This is not entirely new behaviour. What is new is that this employee felt safe enough to write and share an 8-page sexist screed internally. Now, listen to this. Listen to this. This is extraordinary. This is not entirely new. What is new is that this employee felt safe enough to write and share an 8-page sexist screed internally. So in other words, she's exactly what I've said to you. We are experiencing fascism today by the left. If you pop your head above in this today's climate, above the wall, it's going to get blown off, and that's what happened. And yet he was. I mean, I need to find where his this thing so we can read through it. A diversity report Google published in June showed that about 69% of its total workforce is male, and 56% are white. That's not bad. Considering the black population showed that 60, yeah, so it means that if 56 are white, that leaves us, my math is rubbish, 54% of the population is made up of black, Hispanic, Chinese, Indian, whatever it is. Not bad. 69% of the population. So now it means that the male, 30%, 31 are women. My personal view, that's not bad. That's not bad. Women feel, here we go, only 25% of leadership roles and 20% of technical jobs, such as computer programmers. So what? I mean, so fucking what? If these women, something was done once by a company or companies where they decided, I think it's blind programming, where You couldn't tell at all who was doing the programming, the sex of the person at all, or nothing. I think they gave them maybe software or something like that, or told them how to block their IP address, log into the website, and then do a certain amount of programming, but not give their name or anything, maybe just give themselves a code. And so the people who were doing the programming, who were looking for these programmers, couldn't discriminate whether it's a man, woman, tranny, or anybody else. And what they found, that even when they did this plain testing, men still came out massively on top. They were able to solve a lot of these programming codes. It wasn't that women weren't able to do it. I'm not saying that. But the thing that annoys me, that they did this and still people are saying 20% of women are programmers. Well, if they've got 20% of programmers, to me that's quite a lot. It means that, how much more do they want? How much more women programmers do you want? 50-50? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It's just ridiculous and stupid. It does not make any sense. So 69% of their employees are men. So what? The nursing industry has 95% of women. So what? What do we do about that? There are a number of jobs that women absolutely... Teaching. There you go. 80 to 90% of primary school teachers, that's, kids 5 and 6 and all that kind of, very young, are women. Even in secondary school, that we call in the UK, that's from 11 upwards to 16. Again, the vast majority of teachers are women, hitting at least 80% or 90%. Universities are filled with women. The 60% of women now that go to university today are women. What has been done to bring the parity back up to 50-50? Nothing. People keep talking about this, but nothing has been done. If this was the other way around, all right, they would have literally, if it was 40% and 50%, 60% men, they would have lost their collective shit. Literally. They would have lost their collective shit. Okay? Women would have lost their collective shit. Women fill only 25% of leadership roles and 20% of technical roles, such as computer programmers. What do you want? There's 30% of women. How many women do you want filling up the roles? 100%? Wider concerns. There have been complaints about a culture of sexism and lack of diversity in the technology sector more broadly. Several executives, including Chief Executive Trevor Kalminak, whatever it is, quit Uber this year following claims the ride-sharing firm had not done enough to tackle complaints about sexual harassment. And in June, Silicon Valley investor Justin Colbeck took an indefinite leave of absence after he was accused of sexually harassing 6 female technology executives. The gap of influence between male venture capitalists and female entrepreneurs is frightening. And hate that my behaviour played a role in perpetrating a gender-hostile environment, wrote in a statement released at the time. Look, he wrote that because he had to. He felt he had to write it. It's bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. Don't get me wrong. What he did, if, sexually harassed these women, is wrong. It's wrong. But this is one man. How many other executive guys have done this? It's not commonplace. He's just one man. Okay. As I said before, if women do not feel comfortable, why don't you set up your own Silicon Valley, and then you'll be safe. You set up your own Silicon Valley, you set up your own investment, but you don't want to take the risk. It's men who always take the risk. 93% of workplace deaths are men. So that means only 7% of women die at the workplace. And that's probably women sitting at the chair, having a heart attack, women maybe falling down the stairs, going from the school office to trip on the stairs and falls down the stairs and breaks her neck. That kind of thing. Men are dying as electricians, getting shocked. Men are dying as bricklayers, buildings falling on top of their heads. Men are dying down in sewers. Men have died when I used to work for my company BT, who used to go down in, when you have the manholes where for the telecommunications and your pipes and everything like that. Down those holes, methane used to collect. And there have been a number of instances in the past where men have died in there because they didn't smell the methane. Or they may have smelt something, but it gradually took them over and they killed them. So before you go into any of these manholes, you have to test using a gas tester and all this kind of, make sure it's safe to work in there, etc., etc. These are the dangers that men go through. Skyscrapers, building skyscrapers, guys are really high up, where they're having to take massive risks. Nobody says anything about these things. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit about what men have to go through and what they've had to go through for building the civilization that we have today. All this stuff is built, has been built for women, especially the white woman. The white woman is the most privileged woman on this planet. Okay, and they're pissed off that they're not 50-50. They don't listen. They're not interested in 50-50. No, they're not interested in 50-50. Okay. Whether or not they're capable of the job, they are not interested in 50-50. They want to be in charge of the whole business. Look at that stupid nonsense they talk about women being in charge. They want all boardrooms should have 50%, 50% men, 50% women. What are you talking about? That's just complete bollocks. It's complete bollocks. Let's go try and find this statement. If we can find where this geezer. Look at this fucking donkey. This stupid bitch here, former boss. She's a lunatic. The woman's a lunatic. She's taken a tech firm for sexual harassment or this kind of nonsense. She lost the case. They even had women who came out and testified against her and said she's a lunatic. They said, Let's have a look and see if we can see it here at Techmondo. So I'll go to, let's see and find out. Right, here's Jesus, it's a 10-page anti-diversity. Google. Here we go. Let me see if I can get rid of it. There we go. We might not be able to because right here we go. Oh, here we go. A woman. Here we go. Kate Conga wrote it, so don't be surprised. Uber. That's quite interesting. Let's see this. Uber can't find a woman to be CEO, who has bravely narrowed their search down to 3 dudes. Oh, right, okay. Oh, Jesus Christ. Uber, a tech firm that was set up by men. Okay, because women. I mean, if women listen, honest to God, if women are really that intelligent, okay, really that tech savvy, real entrepreneurs, why don't they set up a firm like Apple, like Microsoft, like HP, like Uber, like Google? You know, why are these women not in their garages setting up their own businesses? Because they want other people to do it for them. And then when they've built it, they can then just walk in and take over. Because that is the ultimate of what the bastard feminazi want. They want to remove, or not necessarily remove the male population, but they want to reduce it to such a degree that 25% on the planet will be male, 75% will be women. So they then can take all the jobs, the best jobs on the planet, or what they feel is the best jobs, and then have men doing the dirty, nasty, vile jobs and the dangerous jobs, like fitting, these high. Look at the electrical pylons that are built, where men are killed on a regular basis. Not just some are hurt, but men are killed building these electrical pylons. Nobody hears about that. The feminist bitches don't hear about it because they're too busy eating their croissant and coffee and complaining that men are sexist. But there are guys who are doing some massively dangerous jobs, and they would say, well, they didn't even have to say to them, no, don't do that job. It's too dangerous. We'll leave the Neanderthal guys to do those jobs. Let them go in the dirt and the rain, and let them do those jobs. It's just a load of fucking shit. But let's get through this. Google's new president of diversity, integrity and governance. What a load of bollocks. Danielle Brown has issued her own memo to Google employees in response to the now viral memo, Google Ideological Echo Chamber. Brown's statement, obtained by Motherboard, can be found in full at the end of this article. So we've already gone, but let's go through it again because it's quite. A software engineer's 10-page screed against Google's diversity initiatives is going viral inside the company, being shared on an internal Mimi network and Google+. The document's existence was first reported by Motherboard, and Osmondo has obtained it in full. In the memo, which is the personal opinion of a male Google employee, and entitled Google's Ideological Echo Chamber. The author argues that women are underrepresented in tech, not because they face biases and discrimination in the workplace, but because of inherent psychological differences between men and women. We need to stop assuming that gender gaps imply sexism, he wrote, going on to argue that Google's educational program for young women may be misguided. The post comes as Google battles a wage discrimination investigation by the US Department of Labor, which has found that Google routinely pays women less than men in comparable roles. Again, it might be, It could be the same situation that they're being paid less because they do less overtime. They work less hours than the guys. Women may take more holiday time. Maybe women take more sick time, and so on and so on. We just don't know that. We need to come back to that in a minute. Because Mondo has reached out to Google for comment on the memo and how the company is addressing employees' concern regarding its content. We will update this article if we hear back. The text of the post is represented in full below, with some minor formatting modification. 2 charts and several hyperlinks are also omitted. Reply to public response and misrepresentation. I value diversity and inclusion. I'm not denying that sexism exists and don't endorse using stereotypes. When addressing the gap in representation in the population, we need to look at population level differences in distributions. If we can't have I repeat, if we cannot have an honest discussion about this, then we can never solve the problem. Psychological safety is built on mutual respect and acceptance. But unfortunately, our culture of shaming and misrepresentation is disrespectful and unaccepting of anyone outside its echo chamber. Despite what the public response seems to have been, I've governed many personal messages from fellow Googlers expressing their gratitude for bringing up these very important issues which they agree with but would never have the courage to say or defend because of our shaming culture and the possibility of being fired. This needs to change. In other words, nobody can have an intellectual discussion about the wage gap, about women in the company. What you just cannot discuss these issues, period. It's off record. If you want to discuss about white men and sexism, they will talk the hind legs of a donkey about this. But when they want to talk about honest issues about why women are not in the tech in the tech industry, it cannot be talked about unless it's talked about by women, or by homosexuals, by the LGBT community, blah 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 blah. But if a straight white male dares open his mouth and gives his opinion, that's out of order. Young man, you need to sue Google. You need to sue this company. Okay? It needs to be sued, and Google needs to explain itself of why it fired this guy. I don't know what this TLDR. Google's political bias has equated the freedom from offence with psychological safety, but shaming into silence is the antithesis of psychological safety. This silencing has created an ideological echo chamber where some ideas are too sacred to be honestly discussed. Exactly. The lack of discussion fosters the most extreme and authoritarian elements of this ideology. Extreme. All disparities in representation are due to oppression. Authoritarian. We should discriminate to correct for this oppression. Differences in distribution of traits between men and women may, in part, explain why we don't have 50% representation of women in tech and leadership. Discrimination to reach equal representation is unfair, divisive, and bad for business. Background. People generally have good intentions, but we all have biases which are invisible to us. Thankfully, open and honest discussion with those who disagree can highlight our blind spots and help us to grow, which is why I wrote this document. 2. Google has several biases, and honest discussion above these biases is being silenced by the dominant ideology. What follows is by no means the complete story, but it's a perspective that desperately needs to be told at Google. Google biases. At Google, we talk so much about unconscious bias as it applies to race and gender, but we rarely discuss our moral biases. Political orientation is actually a result of deep moral preferences and thus biases. Considering that the overwhelming majority of the social sciences, media, and Google lean left, we should critically examine these prejudice, left biases, compassion for the weak. I think this word is disparages. I can't pronounce it. My reading is not particularly that brilliant, and I apologise for that. I may be partially dyslexic, maybe, are due to injustices. Humans are inherently corruptive. Change is good, unstable. Open, ideologists. Right. Right biases. Respect for the strong stroke authority. Again, this word I can't pronounce. Are natural and just. Humans are inherently competitive. True. Change is dangerous, stable, closed, pragmatic. Neither side is 100% correct, and both viewpoints are necessary for a functioning society, or in this case, company. A company too far to the right may be slow to react overly hurry. I know what that word is. I've seen it. It's similar. The word is similar to patriarchal, patriarchal, and untrusting of others. In contrast, a company too far to the left will constantly be changing the much loved services. I can't say that word again. The whatever it is. Anyway, you can see it yourself. There it is. Much loved services over diversitivize its interests, ignoring or being ashamed of its core business, and overtly trust its employees and competitors. Only facts and reasons can shed light on these biases. But when it comes to diversity and inclusion, Google's left bias has created a politically correct monoculture that maintains its hold by shaming dissenters into silence. This silence removes any checks against encroaching extremists and authoritarian policies. For the rest of this document, I will concentrate on the extreme stance that all differences in outcome are due to differential treatment and the authoritarian element that's required to actually discriminate to create equal representation. Listen, this is a good read for someone who wants to go through the whole lot. I'm not going to go through this because there's a lot here to go through. But the guy's really putting out, his stall here, and putting out his points. So I don't see what the problem is. So, and what he said there was absolutely right. You can only have one view. That's the view of the company. You pull that way and that way at home, which is left-leaning. And if you go out to the right or even to the middle, which I think this guy, I would say he's middle to right leaning, you're going to lose your job. And that's what's happened to him. He needs to sue Google's ass to win an inch of his life. Millions of pounds. Millions of pounds. Let's see how far that gets. So let's tick on this way. The Guardian. Oh, here we go. Bloody Guardian. There we go. See if, I think half the feminist world writes for the bleeding Guardian. Google accused of extreme gender pay discrimination by US Labor Department. Right, let's have a look. Allegations of possible employment violations emerged at court hearing as part of lawsuit to compel company, a federal contractor, to provide compensation data. Google is a federal contractor, which means it is required to allow the DOL to inspect and copy records and information about its compliance with equal opportunity laws. Listen, people. I suppose, look, these guys who own the company they're worth billions and billions of pounds. But I'm sure this must really piss them off, all this nonsense. I'm going to give a message to men out there. Employ the minimum that you can in your company. If you don't employ any women or secretaries or whatever okay, then don't employ them. And then you'll probably get a better life with less stress. Because this is nonsense. It really, really is nonsense. These big companies that are, part of the, these stock companies that are, FTs, like companies and all this kind of, what they have to go through as companies is just absolutely nonsense. I've always had the philosophy that if a man has built up his own business from his own back pocket, he can employ whoever he fucking damn well pleases. It's as simple as that. Many companies out there, as time goes on, for instance, BT didn't employ a lot of black people in its company, certainly not in the telecommunications side. But in about 80, when it became a private company, suddenly, around 86, 87, 88, 87, there was a massive influx of black people that came into the company during that period of time. And it decided to do it on its own back and wasn't forced to, and pick the people it wanted in its company, and people with different thinking, But it seems to me now companies that are forced to employ people, and it's like, I remember listening to LBC when a guy of a cleaning firm said that the people he wanted to really employ were guys, because he said that the women that he employed were just, were real problems. Some of them turning up a real problem was turning up late on a regular basis, and all sorts of nonsense and stupidity. He said, I would rather employ more men, because the guys that he did have working, he got on with really, really well, and as far as he's concerned, he wanted to employ more men, but he knows the employment laws, and he's scared to do that, because if he made his firm purely, male cleaners, his business he would be out of business. Simple as that. So let's carry on. Google has discriminated against its female employees, according to the US Department of Arsehole Labor, which said it had evidence of systematic compensation disparities. As part of an ongoing DOL investigation, the government has collected information that suggests the internet search giant is violating federal employment laws with its salaries for women, agency officials say. We found systematic compensation disparities against women pretty much across the entire workforce. Ginetta Whipper, whatever it, a DL regional director, why am I not surprised in that, testified in court in San Francisco on Friday, reached for comment Friday afternoon. Janet, again another woman, regional solicitor for the DL, said the investigation is not complete, but at this point the department has received compelling evidence of very significant discrimination against women in the most common positions at Google headquarters. Jesus. Harold, whatever it is, Harold, mine is rubbish, added, the government's analysis at this point indicates that discrimination against women in Google is quite extreme, even in this industry. Google strongly denied the accusations of inequalities, claiming it did not have a gender pay gap. The explosive allegation against one of the largest and most powerful companies in Silicon Valley comes at a time when the male-dominated tech industry is facing increased scrutiny over gender discrimination, pay disparity, and sexual harassment. The allegations emerged at a hearing in federal court as part of a lawsuit the DOL filed against Google in January, seeking to compel companies to provide solid data and documents to companies. You know what? Again, I've probably said this before. This is either to destroy these male-dominated companies and make them female companies. How they're going to do that, I have no idea. But what they want to flip. So in Google, it's 69% and 30% women. If they got it to 79% women and 30% men, there would be no complaints after that. They would be happy with that position. That's what they're pissed off with, with this situation. There is an agenda to destroy Silicon Valley and to replace all the men with women in that. This is a systematic pile of shit. Google is a federal contractor, which means it's required to allow the DOL to inspect and copy records and information about its compliance with equal opportunity laws. Last year, the Department's Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs requested job and salary history for Google employees, along with names and contact information as part of the compliance review. Google, however, repeatedly refused to hand over the data, quite fucking rightly so, which was a violation of its contractual obligations with the federal government, according to the DOL. After the lawsuit was originally filed, a company spokesperson claimed that Google had provided hundreds of thousands of records to the government and that the requested outlined in the complaint was overboard, revealing confidential information or violated employees' privacy. Labor officials detailed the government's discrimination against Google at Friday. Hold on a minute. Labor officials detailed the government's discrimination claims against Google at the Friday hearing, while making the case for why the company should be forced to comply with the DOL's request for documents. Whipper said the department found pay disparities in a 2005 snapshot of salaries and said officials needed earlier compensation data to evaluate the root of the problem and needs to be able to confidently interview employees. We want to understand what's causing the disparity. Ah, so she's saying she wants to understand what is causing the disparity. Now, is she saying that they can see that a woman in 1 hour is getting $10, and yet the other guy, a man, is getting what, $12? If that is the case, then Google is doing something wrong, because a woman should be getting 12 hours. Sorry, a woman should be getting $12 or whatever it is for 1 hour's work. The man should be getting $12 for 1 hour's work as well. But if it's based on the amount of hours and then the total, say for instance, a woman does 8 hours, and based on say $10 an hour, that's 80 quid. Yet the man does 12 hours and takes home 120 quid. If they're complaining of that disparity, then the government, again, is fucked, because that is due to overtime. If he's working another 4 hours, say for instance, so they work from 8 to 4, 5, 6, 7. So he's working till 8 o'clock at night, and the woman decides to go home at 4 o'clock because that's the time she wants to go home. She doesn't want to do overtime. Then what's the problem? If this proves this, I hope Google, on that hand, takes the government to court and destroys that, deals with the government. Listen to this. Again, a woman. Lisa Barrett Sweeney, one of Google's attorneys, testified in open remarks that the DOL's request constitute a fishing expedition that has absolutely no relevance to the compliance review. She said the request was an unconstitutional violation of the company's Fourth Amendment right to protect from unreasonable searches. Mac Pilots in, a DOL attorney, said, for some reason or another, Google wants to hide the pay-related information. In a statement to The Guardian, Google said, we vehemently disagree with Whipper's claim. Every year we do a comprehensive and robust analysis of pay across genders, and we have found no gender pay gap. What, really? So what they're saying, are they saying that women do not take time off work, women don't have babies? I mean, so all the women are working exactly like guys do. They don't take any sick because, the evidence is showing that women take more time off work due to illness. Women take more holiday time than men, and women do far less overtime than men. Those are the statistics across the whole board. So this doesn't make sense. Other than making an unfounded statement, which we heard for the first time in court, the DOL hasn't provided any data or shared its methodology. The company has recently claimed that it has closed its gender pay gap globally and provides equal pay across the races in the US. I'm not interested in that. Here we go. Look at this. Google began releasing diversity statistics in 2014 and reported that last year that women made up 31% of its overall workforce and that only 2% of workers were black. Wow. And 3% were Latino. white employees accounted for 59% of Jesus Christ, accounted for 59% of the US workforce, and Asians made 32 fucking percent. Holy shit, Asians. So again, black people make only 2% of the workforce. Latinos make 3%, which they are the bigger group of anyway. Of blacks, blacks are the third largest now, but they used to be the second. But this figure here of Asians, 30 fucking 2%. Woohoo! Jesus. Hate Christ. But anyway, what am I going to do about it? I'm not going to jump out of the window because of, all that kind of nonsense. It's just rubbish. Here we go. Let's click on this claim. The company's recently, right. Oh, we've gone to Twitter. Do I really want to follow Google? Okay, let's make every day equal pay. All employees can make steps to eliminate the gender and race pay gaps today. That's just fucking bollocks. Here we go. The pay gap is a myth. Work the same hours, job, and have the same experience. Get paid the same. Simple as that. Fucking well said. It's really simple. If this myth was true, employers would hire 100% female workforce. The K back is a myth and fake news. Identity politics. Hire a woman for 70 cents to the dollar. This person's laugh. Yeah, true. Google. I thought that you employed some of the smartest people on earth. I guess I was wrong. This sounds like it's a dig at geezers. I thought you employed. I think two people have replied. Let's see if we can see that. Oh god, here we go. Let me sign in and all this kind of shit. But getting back to the original thing that we're talking about, the employee, he naively thought this was going to be a discussion and people were going to have a chat. And they had a discussion and a chat, and they decided that you are a racist and we need to remove you from our company. That's it. End of story. There's no more discussion. It's extraordinary. I think, do we live in 1984 times? I'm beginning to wonder if we do. Of the far left, we're moving towards that, So I've just logged in, and I must admit I like this. It looks really nice. Let's see. Go down. Waiting. There you go. My computer's a little bit slow, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's still faffing about. Right, it's unfortunately slow. If we can't get down to where we need to go, then we'll have to abandon it. Right, here we go. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, let me just see what this silly little bitch is saying. Huh. You know what? No, I don't know. Here we go. Honestly, it's probably it says here, this guy here, Wet Dragon. Honestly, it's probably to make certain people happy. You know who I mean. Who unfortunately seem to be heard more. Exactly, which is women, all the bloody time. Yeah, that's what I was left thinking after I made that reply. It's more likely a PR move. Come on. Yeah, unfortunately, the bloody thing seems to start. Yeah, can't go any further. Yeah, that's what I was thinking after I made that reply. It's mostly a PR move, blah blah blah, that kind of shit. Okay, so to wrap this up, basically, so now this guy, unfortunately, he's been. This was, I think, this was on Sunday. I think, unfortunately, white women have got into positions of power due to affirmative action. I think in the next few years, affirmative action needs to be removed from every facet of government and every facet of society, so that nobody, black, white, green, purple, yellow, can be employed, because we've got to make our quota numbers, we've got to make our female numbers. We need to employ the best people for the job. Because now, black people can make money, making money at the expense of getting to their job through affirmative action. I totally and utterly, and I've always disagreed with affirmative action since I was 18, when it was explained to me. I was a real, exponent of it. But then a young guy sat me down one and I said, "Look, just let me explain it to you." And I was intelligent enough to understand exactly what he was saying. It wasn't a case of a white man explaining to me, indoctrinating me. I've always, if I thought he was talking shit at the time, I would have said he was talking shit. But when I listened to his argument, do you think the white population, especially the white male, do you really think that they respect women? They respect black people. They respect black women who get into the positions of power through affirmative action? No. You need to get to your position through your own sweat and your own hard work. Okay? And prove that you're intelligent enough to be in that position and in that job. And not be given that job because you're a black woman or you're a white woman. Okay? I better wrap this up. But kudos to that guy. You need to sue Google's damn ass for firing you, because there was no reason for them to fire you. In fact, there was no reason to discipline you. What Google should have done is said, okay, you have put this out internally for people to discuss. Why don't we have a discussion in a room with maybe 20 or 30 people, like a radio show or a TV show, and people who agree with this come and sit down. Pick a few people and sit down, and those who don't disagree or are not happy come and sit down. And everybody can argue their case, because what this guy has put down is really quite well thought out. And he's really thought this through. And But now we have a company that's far left-leaning, which doesn't want to hear any opposing views at all. It will tell you how you should behave. Good luck to that guy. Set up your own business, man. Don't work for any bastards out there, because this is an example of when you work for bastards, this is how they treat you. You know, there's a lot of companies out there, either because they want to be bastards or they're being forced by arsehole governments, the American government, to behave a certain way because that's what they want. Then it's not good. Anyway, I'm wrapping up already enough. Thanks very much. If you like what I've said, can you please click the like? Thank you very much and goodbye.